A while ago, I was asked to learn Uptown Girl by Billy Joel for a gig I had coming up. It's a classic pop song that I knew to sing along to, like everyone else on the planet. Even my 14-year-old daughter knows this song. But I'd never really had a close listen, so when I started working it out and opening it up, I was really surprised to see how interesting a composition it is, yet it still feels like a really catchy pop song. So let's unpack this a little bit together. Now, this isn't your standard diatonic 4-chord pop song. This song beautifully modulates through 4 different keys as we navigate the 3 different sections of the song. All in all, throughout the whole song, as we go back and forth between the different sections, we end up changing key 10 times. And these key changes are done in such sophisticated ways. So let's have a look at what's going on. So the song starts in the key of E with a nice ascending chord progression. E, F sharp minor, E over G sharp, A, B. And that B leads us nicely back to E to repeat the progression. And it repeats the progression a few times for this first section. This first section just consists of those chords. So this section of chords covers both the Uptown Girl, you will live in, that section, and the whoa. Okay, so that covers that bit. At the end of that section, we move into section 2, and we see our first key change. So first key change there. So in that first section, we had our ascending chords with our ascending bass line. And the B led us back to the E. But the last time to head into our new key, we're going to continue that ascending line into our new key, C major. So we're using the ascent of the bass line to walk us into that new key. Okay, so now we're in the key of C. So it's that upward motion of the bass line and the chords that move us so nicely from the key of E into the key of C. So we've moved away, in this new section, we've moved away from that ascending chord progression, and we're into a really sort of standard chord progression, which is a 1-6-2-5. So in the key of C, we're playing the 1 chord, and then the 6 chord, which is an A minor 7, then the 2 chord, D minor to G chord, which is the 5. So 1, 6, 2, 5. The 1-6-2-5 progression is a really common progression in traditional jazz repertoire, although in jazz often you turn those minor chords into secondary dominant chords. So rather than the A minor 7 and the D minor 7, you'd have them as major chords, dominant 7 chords. But this isn't jazz, so they're minor 7s. So I like in the first section how the B is the dominant of E, so it leads us back to the E. In this second section, that G at the end of the 1-6-2-5 is the dominant of C and just leads us back to the C. So if we listen to the next 4 bars of that sequence. So the second 4 bars were C to an A minor again, so it looks like we're maybe repeating the same sequence. But we're not. Instead of going to the 2 chord there, what would be the D minor, we're actually going to a B half diminished, or B minor 7 flat 5. Now actually, if you look at that chord and you take the root note out, the B out, it's the D minor. So actually, to the ear, it's going to sound very similar when all we're changing the bass note. And what actually we've got coming here is a minor 2-5. So we've got a half diminished followed by an E7 flat 9, which would be a minor 2-5 progression. 2, 5, 1. A minor. It's a really standard progression. A minor 2 5 1. 2 5 1. So this 2 5 is now going to seamlessly transition us into our third key. Now normally a minor 2 5 would lead us to the minor 1 chord. So it's 2 5 1. But what we've got here, it actually goes to a major chord. 2 5 1 major. So for this last line of the second section, we've got an A major, followed by an F sharp minor, followed by a B minor. Hold on a minute, this is familiar. This is the same as the beginning of this section in the key of C. It's a 1 6 2. So with C we had 1 6 2 5, and here we've got a 1 6 in our new key of A. 1 6 2. So what would be next? We would expect maybe to be a 5, which would be E7. Well, at the end of this section, we're heading back into section number 1, which was in the key of E. So this needs to bring us back to the key of E major. And actually what we see here is a really simple but brilliant little composition device to get us back to E. So we've got our 1 6 2, the 2 being a B minor 7. So all we're going to do is raise the third of the B minor 7, that D, to D sharp to create the B7, and therefore the dominant chord that will lead us back to E. So if we listen to the melody, he's actually singing that D sharp as he moves from the B minor to the B7, and then the melody continues to move up to land on the E at the first point of us moving back to the E chord. So we've got the just because I'm in love with an uptown girl. So we're back in the first section in E, and there's one more key change that comes out of the end of this section into a new third section. Let's have a listen. Okay, let's have a look at what happened there. So what have we got here? Coming out the end of this first section, and we go to a G chord. Now we're not actually in the key of G. This is the fourth chord of D major. We're actually in the key of D. So we start the song in E major, and then we move to C major, and at the end of that section we move to A major. We're back to E major, and now we're in D major. How many keys? So third section, first chord is a G, and the melody outlines the chord. They sing O, G, B, D, and that G is followed by an A chord, although the melody plays the 13th and the 7th, so this could be an A13 chord. Now we're into a B flat diminished, and then B minor 7. That bass line brings us back down to the G. So at the end of this section, we're going to go back to section number 1 again. So we need to get back to the E again. And the repeat is very similar apart from the last chord. So we repeat that line. Instead of the B minor, though, we use the same device that we used at the end of the second section. Instead of our B minor, we're going to make it a major, a dominant 7, which takes us back to E. So we've got that same B7 that leads us back to the E of the first section again. And that's all the sections of the song covered. He goes back and repeats the whole thing through again, and then repeats around section 1, and fades out. We're finished. In my opinion, there's no doubt that Billy Joel is a master songwriter. He's someone who really considers the craft of songwriting. He takes influences from all over the place and creates really interesting chord progressions, melody lines. And let's not forget his lyrics. They're so good. His song Piano Man has become one of those songs that we've heard so many times that it's lost its impact. But I urge you to go and put it on and listen to the lyrics. Listen to the story that he's telling. It's genius. Anyway, in honour of this song and Billy Joel, I've put together a little playlist of my favourite Billy Joel song. You can find that in the description below or at the end of the video. So, some of these classic pop songs that we take for granted might be a bit more interesting than you think if we delve a little bit deeper and open them up somewhat. I'll make no apologies for getting this song stuck in your head all day. I hope you found some of it interesting. Thanks for being here, and see you next time.